In the dark castle, a lone man stood with longing. Even after all the souls he has stolen, and all the lives that have been lost, he has no regrets. Standing before a huge magic circle, the black mage was ready to become a monster, just to get back to her. Karma. The more good deeds one accumulates, the more good things that will come back to them, including money, fame, and even love. Kyo chose to live with nothing but virtue, and expected to receive good fortune in return. Now, he can only wonder where he went wrong. No matter how much effort he puts in, his good intentions always turn their fangs toward him. The young man had just turned 25, and dedicated his life toward doing only good things. As a child, he once climbed a tall tree to retrieve a soccer ball for other children. After reaching high up with a big smile on his face, he managed to get his hands on it and toss it back to those waiting below. They shallowly thank him after catching, and turn away to resume their game. The ladder to the tree is knocked down, but they don't even care and ignore the cries of the boy who helped them. Feeling hopeless and without a choice, he decides to jump down from all the way up. While he impressively lands on the ground flat, the sheer force leaves him with a hurt ankle. It was so unfair, especially since he was only trying to do something good. As if proving his point, the ball from earlier hits his face. He's always tried to do the right thing for those around him. One day at school, he saw a bow strewn in the middle of the halls. Thinking someone dropped it, he picked it up with the intention of taking it to the lost and found area. Before he could do that, a sharp voice called to him. It was a group of tough boys, accusing him of taking the bow from the girls' bathroom. The mere idea of it was ridiculous, but he couldn't defend himself as a few girls nearby were already calling him a peeping Tom. With disgusted and sneering faces, they all label him as a creep. He tries to correct the misunderstanding several times. However, one of the boys already had his hand on him, saying he hates such people. With his prompting, everyone started stomping on Kyo's defenseless body. Even after growing up a bit, the situation didn't change. Every time he tried to do something good, he always ended up suffering for no reason. A beggar once reached out and asked him for some spare change, so he fished through his pockets for anything to give. He barely had anything left, and likely won't make it through the month with what he has. Apologizing, he handed a few coins to the poor man, who surprisingly scorned him for giving so little. While trying to make sense of what he just heard, bird droppings suddenly hit his head. The beggar said it serves him right, for being a piece of trash. It was all too unreasonable, and as if the world had turned against him. But there was one thing he knew for sure, it's that he will never give up. Considering everything that happened, luck should stand beside him one day. As he was standing on the crosswalk, an old lady called and asked if he could help her cross the street. The young man gladly offers to carry her bags, and allows her to lean on him while walking. They make it across in no time, but her expression suddenly changed while he was wishing her a good day. She screamed for help out of nowhere, and accused him of attacking her. Like before, his attempts at clearing things fell flat as the loud accusations rang, and people immediately assumed that he really was a terrible person. All he did was help her cross the street. He didn't do anything bad, but Kyo had no choice but to run away to save himself. Barely getting away, he realized that it must be a curse, but had no idea why it was happening. Just then, a pot fell from above the man, who never had a single malicious thought in his life. The ceramic broke along with his head, and he was on the floor, trembling without an idea of what happened. His whole body hurt. While hoping for anyone to help, the old lady from before appeared, saying she found him. As he cried for help, she raised her cane above his helpless body. She swings down and deals a painful blow, but it doesn't stop there. Against his trembling hands, the woman kept swinging with all her might, delivering death to a young and innocent man who just wanted to help others. Kyo's eyes suddenly opened, and he bolted up, questioning if he was dead. A bright and glorious gate appeared before him. With it came a divine angel who greeted him with a kind smile. Reaching his hand out, he introduced himself as Gabriel. He's come to show the boy where he's headed next. To his surprise, the next destination is hell. Unable to believe it, he furiously banged his fist on the ground, saying he did nothing but spend his whole life living well. Hearing this, the angel pondered for a moment, and confirmed that his words are true. Since the numbers don't add up, he looked into it, and summoned the scales to check what might have happened. The side with red flames dropped with unbelievable weight. As expected, there was a design flaw involved, as he lived a life with his karma all inverted. Every living creature possesses karma energy. Normally, the more good deeds one performs, the more likely the good comes back to them. It's the exact opposite in his case, and his kindness instead generated negative karma. Since he's done a massive amount of good, his karma is at its worst possible state, even worse than any heinous criminal. He couldn't believe it. Despite everything he did, he's going to end up receiving the ultimate punishment. Gabriel confirms that he was indeed destined to suffer eternal agony in hell. Fortunately, he He's an angel who never abandons those who are under his protection. To find a solution right away, he snapped his fingers and summoned images of the various worlds in the universe. Earth was right in front of them, but he sadly can't return the boy to his original world, where magic doesn't exist. The only option is to send him elsewhere, at least a world where someone similar to him exists. Opening a portal to a huge castle, the divine being suggests going there. It's a place with multi-dimensional magic, and the mage inside just tried a forbidden spell, leaving him with a body devoid of a soul. Kyo will be taking his place and living his life. While it might be unclear now, he'll understand soon enough, and will be given a small gift to compensate for his inverted karma. A screen flashed before his eyes, saying he's got ultimate karma, a skill that temporarily grants 100 luck points for every good deed. The young man is told to find the white mage, as he's the only one who can send him back to Earth. Looking at this mission pop up, he's left at a loss of what exactly he can do to complete it. Unfortunately, Gabriel doesn't know either, since he can't interfere with what happens in the universe. With a bright smile, he assures the boy that luck will be on his side this time. He apologizes one last time, and sends the young soul down the portal to his new world. Kyo could feel himself falling for a while. All of a sudden, he opened his eyes as an entirely different person. He was in an unfamiliar and empty hall, and while it might sound ridiculous, it's true that he was given a second shot at life. Now, he just has to find the white mage and return to Earth, back to his old life. Walking forward, he heads over to a large mirror and takes a look at his new appearance. He's surprisingly good looking and not bad at all. Now, he just has to know about the life the old owner of the body was living. As he was thinking about it, the door behind him opened wide and let a bright light into the dark room. To his shock and awe, voices roared from the other room, revering him and cheering for the almighty black mage. As if that wasn't enough, everyone in front of him was a monster. A servant approached from behind, asking his master not to forget his robe. The orcs, goblins, and demons screamed for the man, who never performed a single good deed, and is known for committing the most atrocious crimes in the world. The incarnation of evil itself, the black mage. Kyo urgently shut the door with trembling hands. Seeing the army of monsters cheering for him, he realized that he had to get out of there soon. Just then, the servant from earlier checked if everything was okay, asked who in the world he is. The goblin's name is Grut, the Lord's newest advisor, who was assigned just yesterday. As for the hundreds of monsters in front of his castle, the black mage supposedly ordered for all of them to gather today. After all, he was planning an attack on the surrounding human villages. Kyo urgently tells him to cancel all plans related to that immediately. The advisor is surprised and disappointed, saying he thought this is what the Lord desired. Quietly cursing to himself, he feels like he has no choice and snaps his fingers. Flames consumed his body, but he remained emotionless. Not understanding why he was setting himself on fire, the Lord's body moved on its own and used his magic to dispel the blaze, leaving his servant in shock. With this, the system window appeared beside him, saying the ultimate karma skill activated. Grut knelt down, begging for forgiveness and asking for the mercy of death. He understands that it was his mistake, but doesn't want to end up like previous advisors, whose souls' screams still echo within the castle halls. Kyo doesn't understand what he's talking about, so the goblin points to the walls. There, countless heads were placed on the wall, each belonging to an advisor sentenced to death. It's an unbelievable sight that makes him wonder what they did to end up that way. Not a single one lasted in the position, as they were all brutally sentenced to death for trivial sins. It was horrible. In this world, the real monster was him. Called on, Grut turned with his entire body trembling. Seeing this, he's told that Kyo has no intention of harming him, and is appointed as the Black Mage's lifelong advisor from that point on. The goblin doesn't know how to thank him for the unexpected honor. For now, he's told to answer even his strangest questions, and is asked who he is. He is the greatest Black Mage in the universe, so much so that his name is literally the Black Mage. Figuring that his knowledge as an advisor was just being tested, Grut continued to answer, explaining that they're in his impregnable castle that rules over the southern lands, and serves as the general headquarters for his monster army. Kyo was reincarnated as someone who's a serial killer, in command of a monster kingdom. Asked how long he's been ruling over the land, the troubled goblin makes a few calculations and says 40 minutes at first. He realizes it's ridiculous, and corrects it to 40 billion years. As neither was right, Grut thinks he's once again made a fatal mistake, one enough to make him point a dagger right at his chest. Fortunately, the hasty action is stopped right away, but doing so elicits a familiar response. The ultimate karma is activated, but Kyo is too preoccupied with ordering the advisor to keep living to notice. If he tries anything else, he'll meet an execution worse than any of his predecessors experienced. The bluff fortunately works, allowing the Black Mage to move on to his main mission of finding the White Mage as soon as possible. No matter how terrible his life is, he must return to Earth somehow. No matter how much fate tries to beat him down, he has to return to his mother, who always used to comfort him. She gave him the strength to move forward and is the greatest treasure of his life. He will definitely see her again. Kyo wonders if others can see the system window, but Gret confirms he can't. With this information, he moves on to ask about the White Mage. However, the mere mention of the name sends shivers down the spine of all living things nearby. The goblin suddenly grit his teeth and went on to call him the most despicable scum in the world. Skipping the vivid insults, Kyo thanks him and wonders about the kind of magic he uses. He manipulates multi-dimensional magic that creates vortexes to blow them to different worlds. In fact, thousands of their men have already been erased by this technique. Multi-dimensional magic proves that he's the only one who can send him home. The other worlder checks to see if he can use the same type of magic, but it's completely incompatible with his black attribute. In other words, he has no choice but to ask for help. Unfortunately, the White Mage is his greatest arch-enemy, who'd choose death before he ever helps him. That's only natural, although he should be able to get some help from Gabriel's blessing. Checking on Ultimate Karma's additional information, he sees that the probability of fulfilling his wishes increases proportionally to his luck points. It means he can reach his goal by accumulating points from good deeds. After saving Gret's life twice, he should have earned 200 points already. He goes ahead and takes a look to confirm, but is surprised to see his point count still at 0. Wondering if it's a bug in the system, he digs a little deeper and is shocked by what he finds. His karma status was eternally cursed, and he's set a new peak record for misfortune. To make matters worse, his luck is sealed and cannot go over 0. As he started wondering what to do next, another window popped up with a new quest. To lift the curse and unlock his luck, he has to perform a special good deed. Kyo left the castle with Gret beside him. With his luck value sealed shut at 0 points, he first has to find a way to complete his mission and break the curse. That said, he doesn't even know what a special good deed is supposed to be. It seems that keeping his advisor alive wasn't enough, but he won't give up. Accumulating points throughout the castle hasn't been that easy either. One time, he stopped the beheading of a known criminal in their world, even ordering for his release in front of an entire crowd. Several protested, disappointed by the Lord as they waited for the execution for so long. Gret justified his actions, saying the serial killer will commit more crimes once released. Before the information set in, the goblin seconded the order, which led to an immediate massacre of the citizens in the audience. Kyo couldn't accumulate luck there, so he has to find another way. To perform a special good deed, he has to let his mother know that he's still alive. Gret was observably troubled. Having a terrible feeling about infiltrating the Western Territory, he questioned their plan, adding that they don't even know when soldiers might attack. Since it can't be helped, he says they just have to do it. Soon enough, they reach the village near the castle, which is said to be home to a certain White Mage. Users of multi-dimensional magic are members of the Innocent Order cult, led by the White Mage. Those in the order are his disciples, but they should be able to bribe one who was expelled. Fortunately, the one in the village should take that job. Tyria was expelled after earning money by making a spectacle of multi-dimensional magic. This also earned him the name of the Greedy Tyria. It's all convenient to the Black Mage, who's known to be particularly rich as the ruler of his own kingdom. Upon entering the small town, they see a small boy crouching by the well. Gret sees the young human male, completely alone and defenseless, and decides to finish him off for his beloved master. Stopping him and saying he has a better idea, Kyo approached the child and asked what he was doing there without parents. Unfortunately, his father is deep in debt with a mage, and he has to help pay it back. He confirms that the mage in question is the Greedy Tyria, who should be holding his usual show for everyone in the tavern. The Lord is ready to head there right away, but his advisor was still intent on cutting the human up and serving him like sashimi. To his surprise, Kyo hands the child a single gold coin. His eyes sparkled with hope, in contrast to the Black Mage who's disappointed that it isn't enough for his mission. On the other hand, Gret protested the idea of giving a human a gold coin, so his master doubles down and provides an entire pouch. While this ensues various reactions, Kyo was solely concerned with how it still isn't enough to complete his mission. Wondering why someone so feared would do something so out of character, he sees the boy beam with joy and regard the Dark Lord as his hero. An idea clicks in his head, and he mistakenly believes that Kyo intends to turn him into his successor. In an attempt to get close to his hero, the boy will commit countless atrocities and eventually become their ally to rule the southern lands. Although this is far from the real purpose, it's enough to quell the goblin's heart. Inside the tavern was the usual sight of people enjoying drinks. Tyria was nowhere to be found amid the crowd, but there was something else that caught their eyes. Everyone stared and shushed when a single mirror in the middle of the room began to shine. Grut warns his lord, as it was multi-dimensional magic at work. The live feed of beings professing their love for each other was being played in front of everyone. As they were reaching their climax, a tentacle creature halted with a request and suddenly pulled a tentacle from his face. He asked his beloved to take it with her. She was flummoxed and was about to give her answer when the screen turned off out of nowhere. It was the end of the broadcast. Cut off at the best part, the viewers fervently questioned what was going to happen next. To restart the connection and access what was happening, they had to insert a gold coin. An avid viewer violently insists that it was another person's turn to pay the fee. However, he argues that he's already used all his savings there and wants to watch something else. The tension and their voices rose while Kyo quietly slowly walked to the device and placed a coin in before anyone could object. Accepting his payment, it released a blinding light and instructed him to place his hand and think of the place he wishes to observe. It was just like a remote control. The arguments are replaced with joy as they see the machine start up. Against their expectation, the robed man chooses to observe what's happening on Earth. He isn't sure how it works exactly, but he thinks strongly about the person he wishes to see. His eyes grew wide in surprise when the image of his mother appeared. Not even caring about the people around, he called to her and tried to break through the screen. They all watched her walk in the rain and passed by neighbors to exchange blank and lifeless greetings. It was impossible not to feel sorry, as it's only been a month since her son passed away. The poor mother still hasn't been able to recover. Driving in her car with a single stem of a white flower, she headed to Kyo's resting place and stood there, all alone and in silence, while she stared at the funeral photo of her dead child. After placing the flower, she left to rejoin society, an impossible task for a parent who just lost her child. She fell to her knees in the middle of the street, unable to stop weeping even after the rain subsided. Her grief for her son was unimaginable, and all she thought of every day was how much she missed him. How was she supposed to live without him? In the tavern, all the men watched the scene with unhappy faces, and soon fell into a fit of tears over the heartbreaking moment. Even Grut couldn't help but cry. Noticing his master, he asks if the tears are part of his powers, but is surprised when Kyo suddenly falls to the floor. He couldn't accept what was happening to his mother. He finally understood the pain he was causing her, and the painful result of his passing on Earth. Kyo refused to accept just how unfair the world was being to him. Even more, he refused to allow his mother to cry like that. He bangs at the mirror, desperate to be heard from the other side. Grut tells him to stand back as the multi-dimension magic might destroy him, but all he cared about was reaching the person he loves the most. In response, the device activated its safety measures and sent magical shockwaves surging throughout his entire body. Still, he endured it with everything he had, reaffirming his determination to reach his goal. He was still alive, and he had to let her know. As such, he used his own magic to push through the shock and mirror. Finally, his screams reached his mother's ears. She turned around and was stunned to see the blinding light of the spell, more so when the image of his son appeared, asking if she could see him. She couldn't believe that it was really him. There wasn't enough time to explain what happened, so he just asked her to hold on and wait for him to come back to her. The mother was still in tears, but her forlorn face was now smiling with hope. Together, they agreed to meet each other again soon enough. Unfortunately, Kyo has used up all of his magic power and couldn't keep the connection any longer. The system popped up, awarding him with the special good deed, Mother's Love. He managed to pull it off and complete the mission. By ending the parents' fountain of tears, he had successfully lifted the seal. His eternal curse now turned him into the cursed one. The luck points and karma from Gabriel that were temporarily disabled can now be used according to his will, even if it's just for a short while. Accumulating good deeds should multiply his luck. Before he could think about it more, the men from before continued their argument about the show. One didn't have anything left, and used his feet, bare after selling his shoes, to kick another person away. Just like that, a massive brawl spread throughout the bar, all because they wanted to watch a show. In fact, they seemed willing to throw everything away for it. Grut urges his master to leave, before the multi-dimensional magic drives everyone mad. However, a pint of beer hit his head and spilled all over his clothes. What's left of his patience faded rapidly, and he removed his hood to curse and kill the wretched humans. For some reason, Kyo smelled his head. The scent of the beer was strange, but he's sure he's encountered it before. In the Black Mage's memories, he's made a similar concoction, an addictive elixir. He moves to check the barrels and calls for his advisor to join him. There was something wrong with the tavern, one likely hidden nearby. As expected, he finds a bottle containing odd blue liquid attached to the beer containers. He confirms his suspicions as soon as he detaches it and takes a look. It's the addictive elixir, not unlike the one he made. Tyria spiked the alcohol to make everyone dependent on his magic and take their money. This is likely what happened to the child by the well, whose father probably wasted all his family's money there. Just then, the rowdy men from before called to the weird and short outsiders. Since they started the last broadcast, they must have money to spend, which they're now forcing them to use on their useless shows. Their aggression triggers Grut, who refuses to stand for threats against his master. Fortunately, Kyo stops him before he kills everyone in the room, saying he knows a way they can save everyone. In the Black Mage's mind were clear memories of the elixir's antidote. All the formulas and necessities were engraved somewhere. He finds it soon enough, and immediately replicates the spell that can free victims. He first casts it on everyone in the tavern. An odd clarity suddenly swept the room, and each guest's mind cleared up, allowing them to remember their families. Moving on, a huge magic circle appeared above the village, and the antidote was cast on everyone else who might be affected. There were some arguing at home as a husband wished to sell all their things to watch a random soccer match at the bar. Hit by the spell, he realized what he was doing and apologized to his beautiful child for losing his mind for a moment. Just like that, the village was at peace, completely purified of the elixir corrupting its residents. Grut looked around in confusion, not understanding why everyone was so much nicer compared to before. His master's magic had stripped them of all aggression in their bodies. He considers it the best punishment, as none of them will ever taste the joy of battle now. Those who were once like proud lions have now become as helpless as worms. As usual, he believes that his lord's ferocity is unparalleled in this world. Meanwhile, Kyo was preoccupied, as purifying the village granted him a massive amount of luck points, which endlessly poured in. It was perfect and going all according to his plan. With his luck near 240,000, he can finally get what he wants the most using multi-dimensional magic. However, the tavern walls suddenly exploded. Everyone turned toward the smoke, but didn't seem too bothered since it was just Tyria, who they already knew. The banished mage stepped forward and demanded to know who was trying to ruin her business. The outsiders encounter Tyria for the first time and are shocked to find that she's actually a woman. She confirms her bad suspicions and sees that all the elixir has evaporated from the beer. The culprit behind the mass purification is sought from the crowd, but the regular customers all denied doing anything to the drinks. As such, she turns her attention to the two people, the weird man and the brat, since she has never seen either of them there before. Before they could answer, she finds the bottles, once connected to the barrels, overturned on the floor. Kyo is accused of being a member of the Order, who's now coming after her as well. Telling him to mark her words, she vows to never yield to trash like them, and summons a blazing magic circle under his feet. The Black Mage cursed it all. The flame circle and its power was very vivid in his memories. Since there was no time to think, he allows his guts and instincts to move his body, which, for some reason, launches a gold coin somewhere to his side. He freezes, completely confused by the result of his intuition. Tyria was fully committed to killing him on the spot, and the huge explosion from beneath him proved that. As it consumed him whole, his ultimate karma activated, leaving him with 3 minutes of pure luck. The coin he shot earlier hit a water pipe which, with miraculous luck, burst open and doused all the flames covering him. Neither of the mages could believe what just happened, but it was too close of a call to be comfortable with. Kyo wonders if he unconsciously triggered a spell, just like when he saved Grut back in the castle, but what happened now doesn't feel the same way at all. He merely threw a coin. Seeing it lodged in the pipe, he finally understands how it works. Meanwhile, the goblin was not saved from the fire, and had no choice but to take off the robes covering his identity. Unfortunately, this reveals his true nature to all the humans around them. After an awkward pause, the reality that a monster was there set in, and the humans charged in to kill their sworn enemy. Kyo put himself between them and told his advisor to stay back. He also removed his cloak, but instead of anger and violence, fear filled the humans' hearts as they realized that they were in the presence of the infamous Black Mage. Each and every one of them ran away, except for the banished member of the Order. For some reason, Tyria smiled as she greeted the great enemy himself. The bounty on his head is worth 100 billion gold coins, but from what she's heard, he was so weak as an immaculate that the White Mage turned his head away from him in shame. If she puts everything she has, she might be able to beat him and become the richest person at the end of it all. It's a shame, but Kyo hasn't mastered his powers yet and would die if he fought head-on, so he has to bet everything on luck once again. He praises and admires the opponent right in front of him, but adds that she might be lacking quite a bit of focus. The flames she unleashed earlier had caught on a trail of alcohol that led to the rest of the barrels. While she notices this belatedly, Kyo was already retreating to safety with Grut in his arms. He moved on nothing but sheer instinct, which urged him to jump out of the nearest open window. They're met with the cold night air while diving to the ground. As the fire continued to travel, the two landed inside a metal tank and sealed themselves into safety. Just a second later, the entire tavern was caught in an enormous explosion, destroying everything but the tank they were hiding in. Now, all that's left was to escape under the cover of the smoke. They walked through the remnants of the establishment, still in flames, while Grut skipped from joy at the thought of deliciously roasted humans. However, the battle was not yet over as Tyria appeared and called to the Black Mage, saying it's still 100 years too early for him to defeat her. He looked at his system window and saw that his luck still had 1 minute left, meaning he has to move now if he wants to somehow defeat the enemy. With this, he mocks her, stating that he doesn't even need to use his power to win, and asks if she honestly thinks that she can beat him. This provokes her as expected. The greedy white mage shoots a torrent of flames, unwilling to be looked down on. He's nearly burnt to a crisp, but Kyo trips on a rock and dodges the hit by falling to the ground. Not finished yet, she summons another magic circle beneath him, and several more from the surrounding areas. There was no escaping now as she was determined to use everything she had to end him. Fortunately, there were 5 seconds left on his miraculous luck. At the final moment, right as he was about to be incinerated, a burst of oil sent him flying high to the sky, away from the fire. She couldn't believe it, but he dodged all of her attacks. The nearby citizens saw it and concluded that the tavern's explosion caused oil to gush up from deep underground. Having used up all of her strength, Tyria helplessly fell to her knees, defeated. She couldn't even move anymore, and she wondered if this truly was where she was going to die. To her surprise, the flames disappeared. Grut called to his master, saying it was too early and she hadn't cooked enough yet. They don't understand it, but Kyo approached and knelt by his enemy, promising that he had no intention of leaving her behind there. While looking at her weakened face, a memory invades his mind. Among the Black Mage's memories, he sees the original owner of the body, collapsing in the middle of a burning chapel. In tears, he held the lifeless body of a woman amid the heat and destruction. He screamed in agony and grief, refusing to accept that she had just died in his arms. Tyria was blushing over how closely she was being held. While Kyo was thinking about the woman who died in the Black Mage's arms, the one in his suddenly leaned in to kiss him on the lips. Shocked by the unexpected action, he turned beet red and jumped away, questioning what on earth she was doing on her own. She apologizes and says she thought it's what he wanted her to do. Feeling like it was his fault, he turns his head and explains that he was just lost in thought. Regardless, the girl is willing to do anything he asks if he spares her life. The Black Mage assures that he has no intention of killing her. He extends his hand and asks that she follow him instead. It just so happened that he is in need of her power. Although confused, she takes his hand and walks alongside him. Meanwhile, Grut stood frozen, slack-jawed, and unable to comprehend what was happening in front of him. One check of his window tells Kyo that all his luck bonuses have been used up and his power has worn off. Now, his luck points were back to 0. He was able to release the power earlier because of his connection with his mother, but only temporarily. It's likely because of his cursed status, which should have a quest that can fix it. Taking a look, he's surprised to see a tab saying he's committed too many atrocities, but he can't explore it any further since they've already reached Tyria's residence. She says it's a bit cramped, despite it being completely spacious and lavish inside. While Grut was gleaming over the gold, Kyo asks if it was bought with the villagers' money, so she assures him that the mansion, at least, was passed down from her parents. It smelled of a lie. Moving past it, he forwardly says that he needs her multi-dimensional magic, particularly to go to another planet. The statement makes her call him mad, but she doesn't even get far before finding the goblin's blade near her face. Told to watch her words, she just explains that she's too weak, as his request requires astronomical levels of mana. Only the white mage would be capable of doing that. With her current power, the only thing she can do is see the state of the other worlds. Alas, returning to his world won't be that easy after all. He smiles to himself, finding it fortunately that he's the all-powerful Black Mage, who'll surely improve if he's taught the basics. As such, he tells her to act as his magic teacher and pass on everything she knows. The ridiculous request makes her ask if he's an idiot who's lost his mind, but Grut's glare turns it into a polite questioning of the strange request. The goblin says his lord is testing her knowledge, and failing to get it right would lead to her being consumed by merciless flames. Getting the picture, she shares that she honestly can't teach him, simply because he's the Black Mage, even if he is the great and almighty Black Mage. There are two opposite types of magic in the world, white magic and black magic. The more a mage masters one side, the more unusable the other becomes. In other words, the Lord of Black Magic and sworn enemy of the white mage cannot learn the technique. Besides, multi-dimensional magic is the epitome of white magic spells. For someone who has mastered the other side of the coin, it is the least compatible power, almost akin to telling a shark to go mountain climbing. Their conversation is interrupted by loud noises from nearby, prompting the three to rush to the windows and look. There, they see the villagers armed with torches and pitchforks to punish their enemies. To make matters worse, they've brought soldiers to support their cause. Tyria corrects them and says it's the Immaculate Order. They all stood aside to form a path. Walking along, it was the White Mage, whose presence alone sent shivers down the spine of his enemies. It was all over. Kyo did not imagine that his greatest adversary would come so soon. Since he's not an opponent he can fight, he has no choice but to run away right now, but not without Tyria. Unfortunately, she can't just go and abandon her palace, along with all her money. He doesn't care about that and drags her away. Before they could get to them, the Lord of Monsters summoned a magic circle to take them all back home. They disappeared in that instant, leaving nothing but the traces of the circle for the villagers to find. They were too late. Back in the dark castle, a bunch of followers gathered around a familiar circle and chanted for space to bend and gates to open. Kyo and the others appeared at the center, and he's glad to see that they safely made it back to his fortress. It's fortunate that he prepared an emergency escape route in advance, particularly with the transfer magic that Grut helped set up. As he was finally starting to appreciate black magic, he saw the followers around him drop to the ground one by one, until none of them was left standing. When he questioned what in the world was happening, the goblin just explained that they're the corpses of those sacrificed for the transfer magic. Their bodies lay there, broken. Grut was proud of teleportation magic, which is one of the most powerful spells in the goblin world. Kyo was furious that he wasn't informed, but the advisor considered it such a minor and irrelevant detail. What he didn't know is how those minor details now filled his master with bad actions, contributing to his karma. In a flashback, a busy town street was filled with merchants and townsfolk going about their day. Inside a shop, a young woman, Silva, who would become a witch in the future, swept the floor quietly while surrounded by stacked goods and pottery. Startled, she accidentally bumped a large clay jar as her balance slipped, crashing to the ground and shattering into pieces. Her boss angrily shouted, accusing her of breaking it again as she apologized. Silva recoiled as he yelled that she was completely useless. The boss violently threw her out of the shop and ordered her to get out of his sight. Enraged, he warned her never to come back. Silva collapsed outside, reaching out weakly as tears welled in her eyes, until the shop door slammed shut in front of her, cutting her off completely. Silva walked through the street with her head lowered as people around her whisper and stare. Villagers murmur about her, calling her cursed and warning others to stay away. She sat alone on the ground, ignored as people passed by without helping. Night fell, and Silva curled up against a wooden pillar while rain poured down on her. Exhausted and soaked, she lay motionless on the cold stone floor. In her sleep, she trembled as if caught in a painful nightmare. Suddenly, a strange green light appeared nearby and pulsed softly in the darkness. Silva opened her eyes as the glowing green orb spoke directly to her and asked her to eat it. The orb reassured her that everything would be all right if she accepted it. Presently, Kyo stands outside the window at sunset and packs his bag. His system screen materializes in front of him, explaining that for every good deed, he gains 100 luck points, but their effects are temporary. Realizing that this is the ultimate karma system and finally understands how it works. He admits that it was a struggle, but he managed to pile up some good deeds in this cursed kingdom, recalling how two orcs were angrily fighting each other, prompting Kyo to take action as his eyes sharpened. He shouted for the fighting to stop as energy surged around him. The two orcs stared at each other as the moment froze and their anger disappeared. Their heavy weapon dropped instantly, while one orc apologized and called the other his brother. The other responds gently, expressing their compassion with each other. Kyo's system notifies and confirms that he has gained 100 luck points for a good action. In a few weeks, he manages to raise his luck just a little bit in a few weeks, but since his current status is the cursed one, he can't receive the benefits. He activates ultimate karma, knowing it is the only way to release his accumulated luck. He decides to consume all stored luck points at once, and he becomes lucky for the duration of the points spent. He then learns that the luck lasts until the points return to zero. Before the fight ends, he purifies a village and saves over 200,000 luck points worth of lives. At that moment, he activates ultimate karma instinctively without his conscious decision. For 3 minutes, he exists in a state of absolute, endless luck. Thanks to that luck, he defeats Tyria effortlessly without suffering any damage. Kyo realizes that if he performs a good deed affecting millions, the system's power will scale infinitely. Clutching his first, he steals his resolve with a confident smile and certainty. He declares that with this power, he will finally be able to return to Earth. Without hesitation, he pushes open a massive door and calls Grut, asking if everything is ready as he steps forward. Grut prepares a mount and is presented to Kyo as preparations are completed. He walks into the gate and begins his next journey. Tyria blesses him, wishing fortune upon Kyo, while Grut urges everyone to move out immediately. Riding through the city at sunset, Kyo's new adventure officially begins at the edge of the kingdom to accomplish a massive good deed. Gret confirms the target of their mission without hesitation after Kyo asks him. Meanwhile, Sylva's glowing green figure is revealed as the source of the world's deadliest disease. Kyo agrees and tells Gret to lead the way. The goblin points ahead, claiming the destination is right there. Kyo freezes, confused by what right here actually means. Gret proudly reveals a small house, saying Sylva lives there. Kyo explodes in disbelief, shouting that Gret told him she lived at the edge of the kingdom. Gret studies the map again as Kyo is clearly unconvinced. The goblin mutters that his explanation was seriously lacking. Angrily, Kyo points out that the house is only 100 meters from the castle. The two stand awkwardly near the horses as the truth sinks in. Annoyed, Kyo orders Gret to wait at the castle. He steps forward alone toward the house. Standing before the door, he quietly says Sylva's name, knowing that she is one of the most evil beings on this planet. He steels himself, thinking that if he can purify her, he can save millions. With a tense expression, he prays that the antidote will work. He suddenly bursts the door open, but he recoils in shock. He hesitates and questions if she is the witch he is looking for. Sylva appears, smiling as she greets her master. She rushes forward and hugs him tightly, saying he finally came back. Overwhelmed, she tells him she missed him terribly. Kyo panics, insisting it's not what she thinks. Sylva excitedly shows him newly prepared spores. She proudly holds a glowing spore in her hand. Laughing, she throws it and tells him to see how well they fly. The spores explode outward, scattering violently. She explains she improved them using Kyo's advice, making them far more resistant. She casually states that this will ensure millions more lives are lost this year. Nearby, a kid coughs violently as the spores take effect. Kyo watches in horror as the number millions echoes in his mind. A victim collapses, reinforcing the scale of the disaster. Sylva claims she's connected to every spore and can feel the suffering they cause. She happily thanks him, saying his help made her stronger. Kyo realizes she doesn't understand the harm she's causing. He hands her medicine, saying he prepared something to make her even stronger. Silently, Kyo learns of the disease and explains that it is caused by a contamination centered around Sylva. He believes that if she's purified, everything will stop as she drinks the antidote, cheerfully thanking him. Moments later, she says she feels fine and promises to keep filling the world with spores. Kyo panics as he realizes even the maximum dose had no effect on her. He grimly decides he has no choice but to check the core of the corruption. Green energy erupts around her as he activates his power. He sees countless glowing threads spreading outward. Staring at the massive network, he realizes there are far more than 1 million. Despair sets in as he admits the corruption is too strong to purify. He whispers Sylva's name, torn apart by the truth. Looking back, he recalls when he told Sylva cheerfully that her spores would spread across the entire continent. A peaceful memory flashes, contrasting cruelly with the present. Sylva smiles, knowing that the spores rain down on men, women, and children alike. She declares that not a single one will be left alive. In a sudden, brutal moment, scarlet erupts as Sylva is struck down. A blade fills the scene, while Sylva looks up in stunned confusion, while Kyo's tears stream down his face and realizes this is the only way. Sylva is barely standing and calls out to Kyo with fading strength. He looks at her with a broken heart, noting that this is the only way to free her, until he finally takes out his sword. As her body falls, the green core manifests, writhing with malignant energy, and calls out to Kyo. The corrupted entity questions his intent and his interference. It admits that killing the host weakened it, but did not end it. Kyo declares he did not come to challenge it, but to destroy it as he raises his hand. He unleashes eternal flame, flooding the space with overwhelming power. The corruption recoils in fury, screaming at his defiance. It advances toward Kyo as it warns him that he will definitely regret his decision, surrounded by accelerating magical output. However, Kyo's attack detonates upward, piercing through the corrupted entity. His eyes sharpen as he channels absolute control over the spell. The beam erupts, stretching endlessly beyond the atmosphere. Green lightning-like energy spreads across the heavens. The explosion ripples through the sky, signaling the corruption's collapse. Elsewhere, a sick child lies in bed as the energy reaches the world. The child awakens in shock as strength returns to his body. A system message appears and states "Good action," granting luck points as other victims have recovered as well. Families reunite as people realize they are cured, while luck notifications stack rapidly across the city. The planet itself glows as the accumulated good deeds multiply. Kyo stares in disbelief as the numbers surge endlessly. His luck points skyrocket beyond comprehension. The system confirms his luck has exceeded 1 billion, prompting Kyo to realize this power guarantees his return to Earth. He gently holds Sylva, refusing to abandon her fate. He promises to save her before returning home. A faint smile forms as he steels his resolve. He activates ultimate karma, engulfing him in divine energy. The system announces maximum luck achieved, with limited remaining time. He acknowledges the power he has finally obtained. The system confirms his status as divine luck, enveloping both of them with protection. Meanwhile, a colossal beam of light erupts into space, while a UFO is caught in the blast, prompting the rider to scream in terror. The massive meteor obliterates the UFO mid-flight, raising the alien's panic. He realizes the meteor is on a collision course with the planet. Elsewhere, the White Mage watches events unfold. It is revealed that he is preparing to annihilate an entire centaur tribe. Panic spreads as the White Mage arrives, while survivors are ordered to flee immediately. The centaurs fear that the White Mage attempts to blow them away to another dimension. A golden beam is unleashed, but his magic is reflected and torn apart by the meteor's force. The collision overwhelms the surroundings in blinding light. The catastrophe concludes with absolute domination. A golden beam streaks across the sky, aiming straight for the capital. The impact slams into the city, buildings shattering under overwhelming force. Blinding light erupts as the strike tears through the ground. Dust and debris consume the ruins in silence. Kyo stares in shock, struggling to process what just happened. His expression stiffens as he senses something unnatural. He realizes the phenomenon is multidimensional magic as he sees his mom on Earth. With power this immense, he believes he can break through it. Clutching Silva, he begs her not to leave his side and promises to save her with this power. Calling out to his mom, he reaches the portal and promises to be back as soon as he saves Silva. He forces his body forward as golden energy lashes back at him. The resistance overwhelms him, making him falter mid-step. He shouts desperately, trying to reach his mom through the barrier. She turns away, sensing something strange calling to her. The gate begins to close, cutting him off completely. Kyo struggles, realizing he cannot break through. Silva reaches his face, weakly telling him that some things in this world cannot be changed. She explains that white magic cannot be used by Kyo as he is a black mage. Even with all the luck in the world, she tells him that the dead cannot be brought back, as Kyo kneels in the ruins. Her hand trembles as it presses into the cracked ground. Kyo cries as he holds Silva, refusing to accept this ending. Her spectral form appears, rendering Kyo speechless. She claims to have seen everything, including his power and his destiny. She tells him painful choices are unavoidable. Even if his heart is full of regret, he must move forward. She admits she never wanted to hurt anyone, revealing she only wanted to be loved. Silva thanks him for everything as her form begins to fade. Kyo watches her disappear, his resolve hardening. He embraces her one last time, unable to hide his face from the pain. As she lies peacefully, Kyo notes that Silva caused tens of millions of deaths on this planet, and what awaits her is the deepest, darkest in hell. Kyo's system appears and informs him that his ultimate karma will last for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Suddenly, he swears he will never abandon the unluckiest girl on this planet. Forbidden black magic surges as he invokes an ancient arcana, prompting him to enter astral ascension, stepping beyond the limits of fate itself. Silva's lone soul drifts in a crimson void, isolated and suspended in silence. Confusion sets in as she becomes aware, unable to recognize its surroundings. She turns, sensing an unseen presence watching from the darkness. A massive crimson eye opens, revealing the abyss and asserting its dominance. The voice declares her soul hollow, eroded by emptiness beyond repair. Shock and denial flood her as she explains that she was manipulated by an evil entity. A judgment screen appears, naming Silva as a sinner responsible for countless deaths. The verdict is delivered, which is an eternal punishment, atonement through purgatory. The abyss confirms the records are absolute and beyond appeal. She is condemned as irredeemable, her fate sealed by immutable law. She desperately denies the accusations, insisting she never intended such horrors. Tears fall as she realizes the punishment cannot be undone and calls the verdict unfair. The abyss coldly questions her sense of fairness, unmoved by her despair. The crimson eye looms closer, its presence crushing as it orders her to wipe away her tears. A cruel truth is declared, which is that no one is coming to save her from this fate. Silva's eyes tremble as she begs for it to stop, fear fully taking hold. Lightning suddenly erupts as an overwhelming force descends upon the crimson eye. Her body reacts instinctively, a familiar hand holding her gently. Kyo arrives and cuts through the chaos, urging Silva to hold on. The abyss reacts in fury, sensing an intruder within its domain. Black archangels are summoned, commanded to capture the interference at once, tearing through the void with lethal intent. A radiant barrier forms, shielding Silva as ultimate karma protects them. A massive beam of power erupts, forcing the attackers back as they give chase. Kyo realizes there are more of them and they are still pursuing, danger closing in fast. Elsewhere in purgatory, a distant presence stirs at the same moment. Sisyphus continues his eternal punishment, unaware of the distortion unfolding. His ordeal is finally done at last, until his ankle suddenly snaps. Another system alert confirms ultimate karma remains active, seconds ticking down. Sisyphus screams in shock, the boulder crashing down towards him. Suddenly, Kyo sees it rolling down and notices Sisyphus's situation. The boulder is about to hit a sharp edge, while Kyo is closing in and unable to react. His luck value suddenly skyrockets even further as the countdown continues. The colossal mass crashes downward, forcing the Black Archangels to halt. They freeze, stunned by an impossible interruption. The brutal impact follows, scattering them completely. However, Kyo steadies himself, declaring that everything is under control. He notes they've already come far enough from purgatory to escape. Confidence fills his expression as he says they are almost there. A grand set of heaven's radiant doors comes into view, radiating divine authority. The Black Archangels suddenly appear, weapons crossing as they block the path. Kyo stops in disbelief after they catch up with them, while the Black Archangels order him to return after breaking through the shell of the nightmare hell. A blinding strike erupts, overwhelming their formation in a single moment. The Black Archangels are flung away, feathers scattering as they lose control. Kyo looks back in shock, asking who could have done this. Suddenly, Gabriel descends from the sky, blocking the path ahead with overwhelming divine light. He approaches calmly and promises to take care of Silva as he calls Kyo his friend, asking him to leave her before the gates of heaven. Kyo watches silently, feeling relieved. He reaches toward the gate without hesitation. The word heaven echoes in Kyo's mind as light floods his vision. He silently calls out to Silva, acknowledging her long suffering. He insists there is a place more suitable for her than heaven. Kyo shoots upward, tearing through the sky toward the gates, finally reaching the gates of Nirvana. Gabriel shouts for Kyo to stop, warning him that Silva cannot pass, revealing that Nirvana is declared a realm reserved only for the purest souls, warning him that they will only crash straight into the gate. The light intensifies as Kyo continues forward, regardless as the system screen activates and reveals that the ultimate karma has been triggered and his luck skyrockets beyond limits. Time begins counting down as his power surges uncontrollably. Kyo whispers Silva's name, his resolve unwavering. He accelerates, declaring her nightmare will end here. Gabriel panics, accusing Kyo of trying to shatter her completely, warning that the gate will not open, resisting with divine force. Cracks form as pressure builds from within the gate itself, freezing Gabriel in shock as the impossible happens. The gate opens from the inside. A blinding golden presence emerges, radiating serenity and revealing a golden Buddha who questions what is happening. The divine being notes that even Nirvana itself reacts, disturbed by Kyo's commotion as he charges forward. The Buddha is stunned, confused by the intrusion. Silva's form appears, bathed in warm light. Her eyes widen as realization sets in. She joyfully realizes she has reached heaven. She calls out to Kyo as his expression softens, filled with relief. She thanks her for everything as she drifts farther away. Gabriel stares in disbelief, admitting she truly made it. The Buddha angrily summons Gabriel, asking what the Black Mage is doing in their realm, but he calmly explains that it was all a misunderstanding. Kyo's body begins to fade as he accomplishes his task. The smoke starts to clear up as he returns to his consciousness, and he awakens in the rubble, lying beside Silva's body. Silva lies peacefully, eyes closed and free from suffering. Kyo watches her quietly, hoping she finds happiness at last. Meanwhile, her peace is confirmed and lies within Nirvana itself. Silva sits alone by the shore, drawing symbols into the ground. Someone softly calls her name, her new friends inviting her to play. She smiles and accepts their invitation, excited with her newfound life. Her final drawing remains, capturing the memory of Kyo and Grut. Meanwhile on Earth, a quiet city skyline marks another ordinary day beginning. A set of keys is picked up, signaling someone about to head out. The door slides open, light spilling into the entryway. Suddenly, a woman greets Miss Kuroda warmly as she walks with a man beside her. Kyo's mom listens in silence, her expression unreadable. She returns the greeting calmly, her voice gentle. The girl remarks that Kuroda seems in better spirits today and asks if she is going to her son's grave to offer flowers. Kuroda politely declines the suggestion placed before her. She looks up at the sky, believing her son can still hear her. A golden ring forms, showing the group reflected within its light. Kyo watches through the portal, his eyes filled with longing. From the other side, he presses his hand against the barrier separating them. Teria notices him lingering, wondering what occupies his thoughts. Grut praises him as the cleverest mind in existence, convinced Kyo must be planning something terrifying, until he realizes something. He notices that Kyo keeps looking at the woman within the portal. The word mother echoes as Grut something strikes his mind. Kyo shares that he now commands an entire army, and even rules a massive castle, prompting Gret to think that he is exchanging military intelligence. Despite everything, he refuses to abandon hope. Gret believes that his mom was the one who taught him everything. Kyo asks her to wait a little longer, promising he will reach her soon. Gret enthusiastically announces plans to conquer the universe. He shouts as he approaches Kyo and calls his mom. He swears an oath upon the name of his clan, while calling Miss Kuroda mother. Gret dedicates his sword to her, sealing his vow. Tyria hesitates, unsure how such devotion should even be expressed. Meanwhile, Kyo stands alone in the vast hall, framed by towering windows. Time passes as he reflects on months spent in this world. Though he can watch over his mother, he admits he has no way back to Earth. He recalls what Sylva said, that some things in this world cannot be changed. As a black mage, he knows certain paths are forever closed to him. He opens the door to his room, until his eye sharpens and sees something unexpected. Gret excitedly points out Issa's mom in the portal again and calls her mom. Kyo awkwardly thanks Gret, regaining his composure. Kyo recalls Black Mage's past as a former member of the Immaculate Order, just like Tyria. Kyo believes there must be a way to change himself back. He promises his mother that he will succeed. His expression hardens as determination replaces doubt. Gret declares that he is coming for her, no matter the cost. Kyo orders Tyria to stop the broadcast. With a final look, he announces it is time to move out. The scene shifts to shelves of potions and research materials. Kyo and his companions regroup inside the laboratory. A sudden magical explosion flares violently in a flask that Gret is holding. Kyo admits he has searched every corner of the Black Mage's laboratory. Sylva interrupts, asking him while holding a marked spellbook whose handwriting is in it. He responds that he can't really remember, bluffing that he has far too many worshippers to keep track of. She notes that the text is written in the ancient demon tongue, making it impossible for either of them to decipher. She recognizes the writing as the unmistakable work of an ancient mage, and suggests its author may know how to purify black magic. His finger traces the edge of the book as he carefully examines it. The pages flip open on their own, revealing dense, unfamiliar scripts. Kyo notices a signature dedicated to the Grand Black Mage, bearing the name Talcum. The name echoes in his mind as he tries to recall where he has heard it before. He suddenly remembers meeting Talcum long ago, identifying him as a goblin. He reacts and calls Gret instantly, asking if the name Talcum rings a bell for him as well. Gret asks if the mage is referring to Mage Talcum. Gret explains that Talcum is one of the strongest goblins alive. Kyo expresses his excitement and asks him to lead him to the goblin. Gret hesitates, admitting his clan does not get along with the Droggle tribe. Kyo reassures Gret, placing a calming hand on his shoulder. He promises that as long as they stay together, Gret will not be in danger. They arrive at the southern lands of the Droggle tribe, surrounded by an ominous crimson sky. A goblin blows a horn, announcing their arrival. The group advances as their presence is loudly proclaimed to the tribe. Kyo recognizes the place, recalling that he has been here many times before. He remains calm, assuring himself that there is no need to panic. Mage Talcum appears seated on his throne, exuding authority. He acknowledges the arrival of the Grand Black Mage. Talcum welcomes him, stating it is always a pleasure to see him. Talcum observes the new attendants accompanying the Black Mage. He points out that one of them is a white mage. Talcum comments on the half-goblin, noting that such creatures are suited for menial work. He asks what brings the Black Mage here so suddenly. Kyo states that he seeks Talcum's knowledge and wants to cleanse the element of black magic. Talcum finds the request intriguing but questions why the mage would desire such a thing. Kyo reflects that explaining everything would require a long story. He declares that to achieve his goal, white magic must be used. Talcum explains that black and white magic cannot coexist within the same body. Despite this, Talcum offers to brew a purification elixir. He warns that completing the elixir will require an extremely rare ingredient. Talcum reveals that the ingredient needed is the body of a white mage. Talcum calmly signals for the preparation of the potion to begin. He questions whether a white mage's body alone will truly be sufficient. Tyria stiffens as a gloved hand is raised, protecting her. Kyo steps in, stating that she is his advisor and under his authority, exiled from the Immaculate Order. He promises to deliver the required ingredients soon and personally take responsibility. Talcum smiles, intrigued, and expresses anticipation. Footsteps echo as the group begins to move. Kyo orders Gret to arrange a military council immediately. He declares that the hunt has begun. His fortress looms under the night sky as preparations unfold. Behind the windows, Kyo reflects in silence. He acknowledges that to hasten the purification, there is no alternative. Accepting the weight of his decision, he resolves to do something unforgivable. Kyo turns away, his resolve hardened. The conference room glows as officials gather. Kyo addresses the military council and starts the meeting formally with a roll call. The financial minister, Lindell, is introduced. The Minister of Torture, Snake, appears with a chilling smile. Black Mage Draven is named, his presence heavy with menace. Tyria, commander of the Anti-Immaculate Order, listens in silence. Gret is announced as Special Advisor, beaming with pride. Kyo suddenly pauses, looking at an empty chair. It is revealed that Priest General Seth is stationed at the Atlas Mountains. He is leading the army against the ferocious Grey Orc clans. In a distant mountain, chaos erupts on the battlefield. A command rings out to slaughter the enemy without mercy. Seth strikes them back without hesitation as he cuts them brutally. Another orc advances through the carnage, eyes glowing as Seth stands calmly. His cold gaze locks in, brimming with killing intent. A Grey Orc recoils in terror as Seth chokes him, cursing the Grey Orcs as he expresses his disgust. He vows to exterminate every last one of them. Seth stands atop corpses, absolute and unmoved. Meanwhile, Gret trembles as fear creeps in while watching Seth's broadcast. Back in the council hall, Kyo forces a smile to regain control. He states the true reason for summoning everyone. An extremely important agenda is revealed as the broadcast happens on the side. Kyo announces a crushing blow against the Immaculate Order, as Seth declares to devour the orc's heart. The declaration to eliminate the Immaculate Order entirely follows. Kyo names the White Mage as the primary target. Suddenly, the broadcast shakes the room with its intensity that Kyo asks Tyria to stop the broadcast already. Snake asks if a specific target has been chosen. Tyria prepares to bluff, masking his true intentions. He raises his hand dramatically, declaring the end of the most evil White Mage in history. Even seasoned warriors are said to tremble at the mere mention of his name. Lyndall agrees, acknowledging the threat's magnitude, speaking of a man who commands the forces of evil itself. Snake admits she has despised him for a very long time. Kyo reflects coldly on torture, hanging, and assassination, noting the target's sins are vile even by demonic standards. Gret praises the choice, declaring this the perfect moment to finally eliminate the man. Kyo confirms the name of the enemy they must defeat. He falls silent, sweat forming as the weight of the decision settles in. His expression tightens, hesitation briefly surfacing. The group suddenly panics after Kyo reveals that he is referring to the merciless Connell. He identifies the man at last, deciding that punishment is inevitable. Gret asks how they should handle the militia guarding him. He suggests deploying Cannell's Royal Guard, the most feared mercenary force in the West. Kyo then orders Gret to begin preparing the army. The decision is final, they are going to war. After the meeting, Kyo walks alone through the castle, his resolve hardening with every step. He recalls training relentlessly for weeks, preparing for this inevitable confrontation. He notes that Gret has mobilized through his territories, gathering all the demons who weren't on the expedition with Seth, and the preparations are nearly complete. Gret announces that the army is ready. He addresses the army of demons directly, commanding their loyalty. The demons roar in unison and form ranks at his command. War drums thunder as the army marches. Countless demons surge forward beneath blazing banners. A banner bearing a woman's image draws attention, unsettling Kyo. Gret reveals he commissioned the kingdom's finest artists to create the emblem of Mother. The emblem is burned onto the warrior's skin to fuel their hatred and resolve. The brand sears deep, permanently marking them. A demon screams for his mother, overcome by the ritual. The army chants wildly as the banner rises. Kyo forces a strained smile, wondering if he has gone too far. The army advances toward the distant mountains at sunset. They march into the western lands, toward the kingdom of Cannell the Merciless. A flying bat takes to the skies above the marching army. It scatters from the castle towers as the night stirs, entering through a window, until a blue light flashes from inside the room, transforming into a sinister figure. Cannell reveals himself and acknowledges that the Black Mage has made his choice. With a cruel grin, he calls him by his name, Kyo. The demon army assembles within the merciless kingdom of Cannell, the battlefield quietly taking shape. A horned demon inspects weapons with calm familiarity, preparing for the coming siege. Across the camp, demons move in disciplined formations as preparations accelerate. Kyo stands with his allies, signaling that everything is proceeding as planned. With quiet confidence, Kyo acknowledges that his plan has finally begun. Before confronting Cannell directly, Kyo ensures his luck has been fully prepared. Several weeks earlier, his preparations had already been set in motion. Deep within Snake's stronghold, the dungeon of 1,000 torments looms in darkness. Chains rattle as prisoners stir, sensing something unnatural approaching. Kyo infiltrated the dungeon in silence, observing the suffering within. Calculating carefully, he confirmed his assumptions about the system are correct. He resolved to free everyone imprisoned there without hesitation. The prisoners reacted in disbelief as the sealed dungeon began to open. Shouts erupted as they were urged to flee before Snake could react. Chaos spread through the dungeon as captives rushed toward freedom. The system registered a flood of good actions as prisoners were released. Luck points surged exponentially, confirming Kyo's gamble has paid off. Snake looked on in shock, unable to comprehend what was happening as she ordered everyone to return. Snake realized too late that something had gone terribly wrong. 100,000 luck points are secured, pushing Kyo beyond normal limits. With this advantage, Cannel no longer stands a chance. While Tyria's impatience grows, she questions how long the siege will continue dragging on. Kyo calmly reassures Tyria. Confident in their position, Grut enthusiastically urges the army forward without restraint. Kyo and Tyria exchange a brief, knowing glance, while Grut reports in, addressing Kyo with respectful excitement. He confirms the tunnel preparations are fully complete. Kyo praises the work, explaining that the tunnel bypasses Cannel's defenses. The group regathers, ready to move as one. Suddenly, a warning arrives from Snake. The militia has launched an attack. Their forces strike the forward base with brutal speed. Kyo immediately realizes Cannel has moved ahead of schedule. He orders Tyria and Grut to stay close and proceed carefully. Without hesitation, Kyo commands the army to advance through the tunnel. He entrusts Snake with leadership of the main forces and to drive back the militia. Snake accepts with confidence. Her killing intent displays since she has been itching to blow off some steam after believing some heretic freed all of her prisoners. Kyo climbs down the tunnel as he displays his nervousness, knowing that he was that heretic. In the tunnel, Grut tells them to follow him, but Tyria angrily responds that it is a straight path. Ahead lies Cannel's residential district, untouched by the chaos. Movement stirs within the grass, signaling hidden dangers. The group breaks through to the surface at last. They pause briefly to assess their surroundings. Kyo identifies Cannel's private district as their destination. He points toward the towering structure at the center of the area and declares that it is finally time to settle everything. They proceed to climb up the stairs quietly. Deep inside the fortress, Kyo advances with his companions through a heavily guarded hall. Grut suddenly lunges from the side, launching a reckless ambush. The intrusion draws attention as figures at the far end of the corridor react instantly. Kyo pauses, recognizing their target at once. Cannel turns away calmly, already expecting their arrival. He raises a glass of wine, its surface reflecting a watching eye. Cannel smiles, savoring the moment as he acknowledges their arrival. Kyo confronts him directly, declaring the end of his reign. Cannel drops his wine as he addresses Kyo, knowing that this day would always come. He mocks the idea of being caught unprepared. Crimson restraints erupt without warning, slashing through the space around them. A massive red cage forms, sealing Kyo and his allies inside. He scoffs, questioning whether such a simple construct can stop him. The magic reacts violently as he attempts to break free. He realizes his mana is no longer responding. Tyria reveals that the cage proves impossible to dispel or overpower, and explains it as a forced seizure prison that strips all magic equally. Cannel acknowledges the Black Mage's knowledge with mild respect. Tyria recognizes the prison as a supreme relic of the White Mages. The truth settles in as Cannel reveals the relic's origin, which he stole from the Immaculate Order after being cast out. Trapped and powerless, Tyria realizes he is completely at their mercy. While Kyo remarks that killing him should now be effortless, he invites the attack without fear. Cannel accepts gladly, bearing his hostility. A devastating spell is unleashed at point-blank range as he declares to see Kyo in hell again. The attack descends as a judgment meant to end everything. Tyria's desperate cry rings out as the blast closes in. Kyo instantly activates ultimate karma, pushing luck beyond all limits. The destructive magic violently backfires and fractures the prison itself. Cannel recoils in disbelief as the outcome reverses. Dust and shadows swallow the chamber as the structure collapses. Kyo questions if this is the end of Cannel's theatrics, as he stands unharmed amid the aftermath, while his enemy clenches his teeth in frustration. Even Cannel cannot comprehend the magic that intervened. He counters by drawing on his power, revealing multi-dimensional magic, escalating the battle further. Shock spreads from Kyo, seeing a vision of his mom from Earth. Cannel smiles coldly as he utters Kyo's name. Cannel addresses him calmly, already treating him like prey. He reveals he has been observing Kyo from the shadows for a long time, while in the form of a bat. Through a glowing portal, Kyo observed his mom, through rain and snow. Cannel recalls the moment he finally realized the truth about her existence, stating bluntly that Kyo is not originally from this planet. He explains that Kyo was sent here by a guide beyond this world. He coldly declares that his next target will be Kyo's mother. Grut panics as the truth is exposed, shouting in shock. Cannel effortlessly controls the golden portal, proving his dominance. Tyria urges him not to panic as the enemy continues explaining. It is revealed that only white mages can wield multi-dimensional magic strong enough to cross worlds. Cannel mocks them, confirming Kyo lacks the power to stop him. He casually reveals he also stole a powerful artifact. Tyria realizes escape is impossible as the enemy smiles with certainty. she reveals that the artifact called File of Passage contains a sample of a white mage. It is explained that drinking from it allows temporary travel between worlds, despite such relics being forbidden. Kennel crushes another vial, stating only one remained intact. He drinks the sample without hesitation, his body reacting violently. With a surge of light, he prepares to leave the world entirely. Kennel floats toward the portal, addressing Kyo one last time. He tells Kyo to say his final goodbyes. Kyo freezes in fear as Kennel promises to kill him after returning. Through the portal, Kyo sees his mother walking alone in the real world. Kennel steps through, approaching her directly. Kennel's satisfied smile displays, while Kyo screams in desperation and begs him to stop. He cries out for his mother, panic completely overtaking him. The system activates, but nothing seems to happen at first. Kyo realizes his ultimate karma still isn't triggering. Kyo begs Teria to do something as time runs out. She apologizes helplessly, admitting her current self can't cross worlds. He screams her name, pleading for help. His voice cracks as despair reaches its peak. The cage seals tighter, trapping them in hopeless silence. Suddenly, something strange begins to distort reality. Teria looks around in shock, sensing a sudden shift. Leaves scatter as the scenery abruptly changes. Young Kyo appears in a peaceful park, running past her. She realizes in disbelief that she's no longer in the magic world and recognizes Kyo. Teria shouts his title in shock, as Kyo cheerfully counts the money he saved for the year. He explains he spent winter mowing lawns to save money. Kyo happily talks about walking dogs every single day. He recalls washing cars whenever the owner returned from work. He proudly says all of it was done for his father. Kyo approaches his bike, full of innocent energy. He admits his father never accepts the money, knowing he's in debt. Kyo says he understands how miserable that makes his father feel. He places his savings into a basket with a gentle smile. The system recognizes the act, labeling it a special good deed as karma begins calculating. Kyo meets his father again on the street, surprised but happy to see him. The system silently begins recalculating karma in the background as if a glitch is happening. His father gently pats his head, saying he has to go to work. The karma scale suddenly tilts violently as negative karma surges. Kyo asks if his father will be home for dinner, smiling innocently. He waves enthusiastically as his father rides away. Kyo shouts that he loves his dad with all his heart. His father turns back, smiling softly as he says he loves Kyo too. In the next instant, a violent accident happens across the scene. Teria watches in horror as Kyo calls out to his father. She trembles, shocked by what she just witnessed. Reality glitches around her as the scene forcibly shifts. She finds herself at a funeral, watching Kyo's family gather. The atmosphere turns heavy as grief fills the air. A coffin bearing a cross confirms the truth she feared. Young Kyo breaks down, overwhelmed with guilt. Tears stream from his eyes as he blames himself for his father's death. His mother holds him close, telling him not to say such things. Kyo admits he already knew the truth deep inside. He runs forward, collapsing as his name is shouted. Kyo apologizes repeatedly, convinced everything is his fault. He believes misfortune always follows him no matter what he does. Teria flinches as she realizes how deeply broken he is. Kyo confesses he has always known he is cursed. Teria begs for help, her voice shaking. Kyo cries that he doesn't want his mother to die because of him. Teria reassures him softly, telling him not to worry. She promises she will help him no matter what, surprising Kyo. Teria senses an unfamiliar force awakening from her. Teria admits she doesn't understand what's happening, but feels it clearly. Presently, Kyo is confused as he witnesses something strange happening with Teria. Her eyes glow as realization strikes, knowing that she can do it now. She activates supreme multidimensional magic, and a massive world-crossing gate begins to open. Teria urges him to go through before it collapses. Kyo shouts that black magic is blocking his path. Gret realizes the spell is reacting specifically to Kyo, so he volunteers to do it instead. Meanwhile, Kennel tightens his grip on his blade, preparing to strike Miss Kuroda. He approaches her with killing intent, until Gret lunges forward at full speed. Kennel is struck and sent flying violently. Gret's foot slams into the ground as he